the mindset of a champion is how am I gonna succeed. In real estate, it's the same thing. It's like, let's go. Let's go. Mad Monty, I showed him like 50 houses. They'd get names. All my clients in the beginning when I was still fighting, I'd go back to the office after showing them a bunch of houses, and they'd go, oh, he sounds like he's never gonna buy a house. So sure enough, I sold him a house, and he's referred a lot of people ever since then.
Iacquinta, former title contender of the UFC, real estate broker, owner of Iacquinta Real Estate. Welcome to the show, man. We're in New York. Thanks for being on.
That's it.
What's going on, man?
Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here, coming down to the office. Thank you for having me on with you guys. I'm looking forward to it. This is really cool that you made this trip down here. You got a lot of great things planned, and I'm thankful you stopped here along the way.
We just became dads. So, they wanted to come with us, the wives and everything like that. New York traffic ain't the easiest to navigate. I think we almost got into like 4 accidents just this morning. So we say, you know what? It's going to be a boys' trip. We're going to go in and out, handle our business. And
awesome.
It's been a little while we've been talking, but thank you for doing it. So I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So closing some deals?
Closing some deals for sure. Yeah, it's been good. The market, everyone's complaining and things are slowing down, and we just keep picking up. I'm bringing on agents. The agents are doing more business than ever. I've been doing more business than ever. So it's been good. It's been good. The hard work is paying off. And I think now is a good time to really build relationships that way. When the market does start to take off, we're taking off right along with it.
Yeah, there's some good opportunities out there, man. A lot of people are, doom and gloom, but at the same time, I'm looking at it as, the rates are high, but again, you're not marrying the rate, right? You're getting the house. You're marrying the house, and you're dating the rate. So there's good opportunities out there. It's the matter of perspective, right? So
that's it.
It's always interesting how, some people think one way and some people think the other way.
Yeah. The half glass half full, half empty.
Exactly.
We're looking at it half full.
Always.
There are people selling.
Yep.
And there are people buying. And for the people selling, it's a great time to sell. For the people buying, it's difficult, and the rates might not be the best. But you get into something, it might not be your dream home. Everyone's looking for their dream home. They want a brand new house, but just get into something, get in the game, figure it out, build some equity, and then you figure it out as time goes along. But you want to be in there. You don't want to keep renting. There's no better time to buy a house than yesterday.
Yeah.
Except for, second best day is today. So,
and that's the thing, like Canadian real estate and American real estate, the financing's a lot different. So correct me if I'm wrong. If you have a buyer today and they want to buy a property and they get a mortgage, are they stuck? How long are they stuck with that rate? Like, can they commit to like a 5-year term, 3-year term, or is it
there are
options?
For the most part, you would be locked in for 30 years, and then you'd refinance when things changed.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So for us, it's a little different. So we don't have 30-year terms. The maximum we have are 10-year terms, right?
10-year, but it's very unlikely
no one
people
gets
go
that.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's 7, and then there's 5, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. The most common are 3 or 5.
Yeah.
So some people, we have a big problem in Canada because most mortgages, like 50 to 60% of mortgages, are renewing soon.
Yeah.
And people that have 1 or 2 or 3% are now renewing at 7, 8.
Okay.
So there's this like volatility in the next few months.
So they're all really like adjustable.
Yeah.
Rate. Okay.
Even if it was a fixed rate.
Yeah.
Now they're gonna have to renew at a much higher rate. That's the problem.
I think they were saying that the payments for people are going to be 86% higher than what they were before.
So almost double.
Almost double. That's insane.
Yeah.
If you're on a fixed income, it's a problem. If you're a commission, you work hard, you got a business, you could sell more, do more.
Yeah.
Maybe you could weather the storm, but isn't that in every profession? You weather the storm, no? You've weathered so many storms.
Yeah, that's the name of the game, is weathering the storm. Yeah. I forgot. I had something to say on the previous thing, but I forgot where we were going with it. I was just thinking about I was thinking about all the storms I'm weathering.
But my son James, he watched your fight with Khabib.
All right.
I was watching it the other day. I said I want to refresh. You stepped in on that fight like one day notice, no?
Yeah. It was 36 hours. I was fighting on the card. I was fighting Paul Felder, and they Tony Ferguson got injured.
Yes.
Max Holloway stepped in. They flew him from Hawaii on like a week's notice. He got to the hotel. He was huge. I was like, this guy, I don't know how he's going to make 155, even though he was a 45. Or he was like, he looked like he was just like gigantic, 190 pounds. I was like, there's no way this guy's making 155. And then the day of the weigh-ins, I got a call that he wasn't making weight. And I petitioned the UFC to let me in there. The bus with Conor, Michael Chiesa was ranked higher than me, and he got cut. So
That was all that weekend?
He was out. Yeah, that was the weekend. That weekend through my eyes was probably one of the craziest weekends ever. If I ever go through something that crazy, I don't know what the heck it could be. But yeah, so I was the first fight of the night. At the press conference, I squared off with Felder. Khabib squared off with Holloway, and then the bus incident happened right after that. Glass craziness. Chiesa got cut, who was ranked higher than me. He probably would have got the fight over me if that hadn't happened. And
That's
then
crazy.
that next morning was the weigh-ins, and I found out I was fighting for the title. And then the day after that was the actual fight, headlining the Barclays Center, just a couple miles away from my hometown. And yeah, wild set of circumstances.
Wild. And
And we did a final walkthrough like 3 days later. I was on crutches with black eye. The people, they didn't know that I was a fighter. They were like, what the heck?
wow. And it's wild because like you handed Khabib his first loss in terms of a round, no? He's never lost a round in the UFC.
I
think
think
you took
beat him
round-
in a round, to be
round
honest
three?
with you.
think you took round three.
Yeah.
4
I'll,
maybe.
I'll go with it.
I see you
Yeah.
took it.
You clipped him. You clipped him at one
I
point.
think I won the fight.
You clipped him at one point. You
I
clipped him at
definitely
one
hit him with some stuff. It's such a tricky opponent because his ground game, and he had that aura about his ground game. He takes you down once, it's over, and he was so good against the cage. I didn't want to be against the cage. I wanted to fight in the middle. And then he goes out and he shoots like a low single and just bear hugs my leg. And it was something that I hadn't really, even though I hadn't prepared much. Wasn't prepared even in like visualization for that to happen. But then kind of as the fight went on, got the hang of his takedown style and was able to keep it up a little bit more. We got tired, got sweaty. He had a little trouble grabbing on, and by that time I was tired. I was definitely tired, preparing for 3 rounds and 5, and it was a crazy set of circumstances. But watch the Kevin Lee fight too. That was a little better. That was a win. The win.
But you stepped up though. Like
Yeah.
you stepped, like we we're talking weathering the storms, and like you stepped up. You were trying to weather the storm during that fight, but you took an opportunity when you saw it.
Yeah.
So I think even in our business, in our line of work, as you said earlier, you're prepping for when the really good times are going to present themselves.
Yeah.
Because if you can make it during these times, if rates go down, I don't know what your lowest rates were, but we were at like 1%.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Bro, it's free money.
Free money.
Yeah.
Free money.
We were in the 2s, low 2s.
Yeah. So, I mean, the market was just
Yeah.
doing that. So when that time comes around again, eventually, because we have a supply issue,
Yeah.
the people that did it right are still going to come out on top. And then the people that are struggling and getting a second job, third job, didn't build their business the right way,
Yeah.
they may not benefit from it. We get more market share.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that are leaving the business right now, and I think it's got to be that way. There's just not enough for everybody. So the ones that work hard, the ones that are setting themselves up for when the market does take off, those are the ones that are going to hang on now, build the relationships that they need to build for when the market does start to shift, and everyone will shift along with it. Just
Yeah.
take off.
Yeah. So it looks like an overnight success. bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Circling back, I wanted to ask you, so when you got the call, right, to be able to fight Khabib, like, what was going on in your head, like mentally? Because obviously, you have this really big opportunity. Were you right away like, yeah, let's do it? Or were you just kind of like thinking about it? And because you're obviously preparing for somebody else, right, to fight someone else. So you're obviously studying their way of fighting.
Yeah.
Like, what was going on in your head at that time? Were you just like, let's do it? Or,
Yeah. I was I was, even before I got any type of, I heard that there was a chance Holloway wasn't going to be fighting. So I went down to the matchmakers, and I saw Sean Shelby across the room at the time. Me and him weren't really getting along, and I just yelled. I said, "Shelby, I'm your guy." I was yelling to him, and he was just like, "Oh God." He was like, "Oh, we're gonna have to put this kid in this fight, aren't we?" And sure enough, yeah,
That's
sure
hilarious,
enough. There was actually a picture of me. I have a bag in my hand, like my clothes, like a workout bag. And I just have my hand up like this, and I'm yelling across to Sean Shelby, "I'm your guy," and that was the moment that he realized, oh man, we're gonna have to put this kid in this fight.
Can't get rid of this guy.
Yeah, that was
He's our only option.
that was it. And it was such a big opportunity. I called my manager. I was like, and Anthony Pettis, he was given the opportunity to fight. I think he priced himself out of the fight. He asked for too much money, So I talked to my manager. I was like, listen, let's just get this fight. I win this fight. This is life-changing stuff. It didn't work out that way, but in my mind, I was like, I'm not going to focus on really too much negotiating. I'm not going to focus too much on this, on that. I'm just going to, with the little time I have, game plan with the team, get out there and just, figure it out.
Yeah.
And it was not the result that I wanted, but at the end of the day, I think it definitely boosted my stock. I had some really big fights lined up after that, and it worked out pretty good.
100%. You take that fight all day.
Yeah.
Even like Tom Aspinall, right? Like for MSG, what was it, UFC 296, I think it was.
Yeah.
He said, I didn't even think, like, I was scared, like, you know what I mean? And he took his short notice.
Yep.
And look what he did. He stunned the world.
Yeah.
And
crazy.
the stock goes right up.
Yeah.
Like for you, there was no, besides actually the contest itself, losing that or winning that, there was no lose-lose.
Yeah.
It was a win-win either way. You stepped up, company needed you. That was the main event.
Nah, for sure.
You went from dragon to eagle.
That was it.
The dragon to the Irish dragon to the eagle.
Yeah. No, it was good. And in the long run, boosted my real estate sales. That's it. It put me out there, and at the time, I had been injured years before that, and I had a pretty serious knee injury. I tore cartilage behind my kneecap, which is like super rare. They did a surgery on me that a lot of the UFC doctor in particular said, if you get this surgery, you're not going to fight again. There's a good shot you're probably not going to fight again. No MMA fighter has had it's an allograft surgery where they take cartilage and cadaver cartilage and put it behind your knee and like replace your own cartilage. No fighter's ever had that. And the one doctor at HSS, he said, "No, I feel confident that I could get this done and you'll be back. We'll get you back." And I was like, dude, that's all I needed to hear. But I had the surgery. I got my real estate license. Over the years, people have directed me towards real estate. Uriah Faber was a coach of mine on The Ultimate Fighter, and he would always, he was huge in just personal development and just every avenue of life excelling. And one thing that he really emphasized was real estate. He bought a bunch of houses when they were just giving out mortgages to anyone before the crash. And he would, most people wouldn't be able to pay their mortgage, but he would fill them up with fighters. He'd fill each house with fighters, and he owned a whole block.
That's dope.
I was, it's great, and I was able to go out, train with his team, and see that live. So I was like, this is the blueprint. I bought my first house, rented it out to fighters, and tried to just recreate. That was the move. And then when I got injured, I got my real estate license, and then from there on, I was always selling. Even when I had a fight coming up, I'd refer stuff out a little bit more. But I knew that at that point, once I got injured, and the UFC didn't really, they didn't seem to care too much. They weren't too, I thought I was going to get taken care of a lot better than that. And that's when I realized, I was like, dude, in this life, you only got what you freaking work for and what you do yourself. You can't rely on nobody. Cause I think I really relied on them to take care of me. And it took a lot longer, and it was a lot more frustrating than I thought it was going to be to get my surgery lined up and everything. So once I got my real estate license, I was like, This is something that's just like fighting. There's millions of fighters out there, millions of real estate agents. How are you going to set yourself apart from the rest of the people? Hard work is something that, you know, if you just work hard, if you do the right things, if you're there on time, if you're making the appointments, if you do the things you're supposed to do, you're already in the top 1%. Because half the people that get their real estate license, they just, you know, they're just like, oh, real estate, yeah, you know.
They're an Uber driver and they're a realtor at the same time. That we have a lot of those back home. But one of the things that stands out that I thought about is that, like, how you differentiate yourself is like, no one's gonna poach your clients, bro. You're gonna put them in a chokehold or just knock them out. No one's gonna poach them. Imagine.
I'd be too scared. Man.
Imagine.
Yeah.
You see Al walking out of a listing appointment. Bro, I'm walking in. I'm just turning back around, bro. Get in the car. This one's Al.
He's the right guy.
That's Al's.
It's you know, it's always fun, like with the fighting, to kind of like joke around about it and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it's all good, man. It's all good. It's competition at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, another agent goes into a listing appointment after me. I could beat their ass.
Yeah.
But I'm a competitor. If they think they're gonna outwork me, if they think that they're gonna do a better job for the client than I will, I take that very personal. And it's happened where I've gotten beaten out for listings. And it's like a fight loss. I go back and I'm like depressed for a day. I'm like, all right, I'm going to give myself one more day to be depressed. And then I'm freaking coming out swinging. I'm getting back in the gym, back in the office, and I'm working harder than you know, there's going to be setbacks, just like in fighting. There's setbacks, but that motivates you to push yourself to next levels. And that's how I see it.
On that point, I was going to ask you, like, what's one thing that you could kind of pick out that you learned from fighting and applied it to, like, real estate sales? What's one? I know there's probably many, but what was one thing that you kind of really stuck with you, or you kind of grasped when you were fighting and training, and right when you went to real estate, you're like, oh, I know how to do this? Was it like the hard work ethic? Was it the consistency?
I think it was more, I was like, the half glass full mindset, like we were talking before, but the mindset of like a champion is, how am I gonna succeed, rather than, you know, I had a buyer, Mad Monty. Everybody would get they find out I was Raging Al, and I'm Mad Monty. There was like Punishing Paul, Shirley, everyone they'd get names, all my clients in the beginning when I was still fighting. But Mad Monty, I showed him like 50 houses. I showed him and this was, you know, in the beginning, I was just like, I had the mindset, like, how am I going to find him a house? And I'd go back to the office after showing him a bunch of houses, and the agents in the office, they were all in the office. They weren't out showing houses, you know, and they'd go, oh, he sounds like he's never going to buy a house. And I was like, I didn't even think like that. All I'm thinking about is, how am I going to find him a house?
Exactly.
He would switch up. He'd tell me he wanted this. I'd find it for him. And now he needs to move his brother in with him. So we switched up his whole criteria. Now he needs a place for his mother too. And every thing that came up along the way, I was just thinking, how am I going to get this? How am I going to sell Mad Monty a house? And sure enough, I sold him a house, and he's referred a lot of people ever since then. I think a lot of agents would have kind of just,
for sure,
threw him to the side and said, you know, I showed him 50 houses. It was more than 50 houses. Every house we'd pull up to, he'd go, Al, you know what house this is? I go, what is it, Monty? He go, 29, 28, and 30. I go, well, maybe the 29th one's the one you're going to buy. Let's not think that he was a great guy. Still, to this day, I keep in touch with him. This is after like 7 years, and he's referred me a ton of business just because he saw that I worked hard and wasn't taking no for an answer.
I had a guy who reached out to me on Instagram. We had some mutual friends of ours that we knew, and he asked me, how do you know these people? Told him, they go to the same church I go to. And he's like, oh, okay, well, you know, maybe we should get together. I've got this building. And in Canada, pre-construction is very different from the States. Like, if you buy something today and it's an apartment building or a condominium, it won't be ready for like 4 years, 5 years. So a lot of investors speculate and say, you know what, we'll buy today, we'll get the mortgage in 4 or 5 years, make some money. That's how I got into the game. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I got a building in this part of town and you're advertising my competition. why don't you sell my building? I learned more about him. It was like a 3-year like relationship building until he started launching his building. But this guy came from social media. I introduced him to, at the time, the owner of the company we were a part of. He literally sat him down in a meeting. Imagine this, you bring a builder, someone big, you make some money off, and you could work with him and build a relationship. And you know what he said?
I remember that.
Yeah, he's like, you were there?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you'll never sell this. He's like, for that price, you'll never sell this. Like, he just bashed this guy's project, and it's his first project.
Shot it down right away. Yeah.
I told him, like, don't listen to him. He's not my boss that way. I could still sell,
Yeah.
you know, but it'll be under him. And we were just transitioning. We were leaving the company.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up selling. He had 71 units. We sold 37 of them. That's actually where Danny lives, and he sold the place today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's a nice building. I bought
Yeah.
some investments. That's how I got into the game.
Yep.
That guy is like a brother to me now. Like
Yeah.
literally a brother. We've laughed together. We've cried together. We've like all these things. We've done over 40 transactions.
Yeah.
Go to his kids' birthdays and all that. When someone that was sitting there didn't take him seriously,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So-
I mean, it's like you kind of got to be like being too smart or thinking you're too smart. It could be a detriment. It's almost like, you know, the fighter that's just like a hungry pit bull will do anything his coach tells him to. That's a guy that's going to succeed. If you have a client and they say they want to sell it for X amount, you're just like a pit bull. That's all I'm doing. I'm seeing that as the goal, and I'm getting that done.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, if they're, you know, they think they're too smart, they're gonna, oh, you want to be in the UFC? I don't know. I don't know if you can make it to the UFC. There's guys that have been doing kickboxing since they're 3 years old. You're just starting now. You know, if you listen to that guy, then you're probably not going to make it. But if you listen to your coach, that's like, yeah, but you have, you know, pointing out your attributes. You know, there's guys that have started later than you and still made it and been champions.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's just such a positive mindset. Is, you know, you want to sell it for this much? Let's do it. I love
Yeah.
that.
You try
Yeah.
within reason, make adjustments, you know, adapt and change and pivot.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that on the walk here from the deli shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're making some changes, right? So, but your mindset, I want to touch on something else. I got to go back to this because me and my buddies, we love watching the UFC. We love MMA, but we don't tune into some of the other promotions. I mean, the UFC is the UFC. But you mentioned something about Sean Shelby, and at the time your relationship with him wasn't good.
Yeah.
So we always looked at it as this fun thing. We never looked at it as a business because we're not fighters. We're not involved in any way besides it's entertainment. But obviously when you're in there, you're handling business. You're a fan, but you're also working. So talk to us about that. Like, we hear so much stuff about fighters pay. A lot of stuff has come out recently. This whole thing with Ngannou and all that, you know, there's been so much. So you said something earlier, your relationship with Sean Shelby, but also you were expecting to get taken care of in a different way. How does that actually happen behind the scenes? Like, what does that look like?
Well, my relationship with Sean Shelby is a lot better.
Good.
I actually consider him a pretty good friend now. I whenever I see him at the fights, I always have a good conversation, good time, get a couple of drinks. You know, he's a good dude. But it is a business. So, you know, if you can separate that, and I think that's what I didn't really do in the beginning. I didn't separate the business from the people. You know, they're all great people, but at the end of the day, they have their bottom line. And you know, I was right before the sale of the UFC, so you know, there were, and also I think that at the time I was dealing with the medical team where I should have just figured out a way to get straight to the top, and it took. I'm sure they learned a lot too. I actually was the one that put the deal. They have an affiliation with Hospital of Special Surgery, and I actually am the one that put them in contact with each other. So I didn't get paid for the deal, but I'm pretty happy that the fighters are now being taken care of by the best in the business, which is, you know, where I sought out. I sought out the Hospital of Special Surgery. They're the best at what they do, and now the UFC's partnered with them, and it's cool that the fighters, it's a sport in infancy. They're just getting started, so there's a lot that needs to be done, but I think over time it will happen. Kind of sucks that I was there in a period where It wasn't, the fighters probably weren't taken care of nearly as good as they should have, but the fighters before me probably had it worse. So, it's a constant evolution. The sport's growing, and now they have healthcare. Now they have a whole team dedicated to physical therapy and marketing and everything. It's come so far in really just like the 5-10 years that I've been with the company and climbing the ranks and stuff. So,
and it's also like we have some people that don't know better will say, oh, you like you train UFC, and it's like, well, UFC ain't the sport, it's the promotion. So the sport as a whole it needed to grow and needed a push, and they were the ones pioneering it. So they had no blueprint to follow. Like Dana always talks crap about boxing and the promotion and how that worked, but it's a completely different business model.
Yeah.
So I think for like what he was trying to do and build, all the institutes, the PIs, all these different things, like required money, right?
Yeah.
It required money. Yeah. So I always envisioned like Dana comes to the back, here's 50 G's, 20 G's cash under the table in a bag.
That's how it was in the old days with Lorenzo, Fertitta, Frankfurt, with the Fertitta brothers. They definitely would go in, and it was smart for them because what was on paper for them, for the fighters, was actually a little bit more. They never disclosed what they were given under the table. So now when they sell the UFC to Endeavor, all that back office money just disappears. And what they were showing is now what's really going on with Endeavor. So they actually kind of cut back the pay from the fighters when transferring over to Endeavor. I mean, Dana still gives discretionary bonuses, but it's nothing like what you hear where he'd go to the back and cut $1 million check to some of these guys that fought for the title and stuff like that. So, it's it was a crazy time. I just missed that era. But I've heard the stories and definitely sounds like a good time for some of these guys. Got some big checks under the table.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
What was one of your like most memorable experiences in the UFC, either good or bad? I'm curious.
Going to Sydney, Australia, I fought Ross Pearson. That was like one of my first big name fights. A guy that I had watched when he was on The Ultimate Fighter, and I was just like wrestling. I hadn't even really gotten into the sport, and I saw Ross, and then they offered me a fight against Ross in Australia. It was like, Australia. I never even thought I'd be going to Australia, and now it's like my favorite place in the whole world. It's such a cool place. The seasons are opposite, so when it's winter here, it's summer there. I was there in like November, I think the fight was, so it was starting to get cold here. You get there, and now it's just like spring, summertime, now it's just getting nice. It was sick. And I won. Thank God, didn't get injured. So I stayed there for like 2 weeks. Aljamain Sterling, myself, and Johnny Bowman, who was a Bellator fighter at the time. We kind of just cruised the whole east coast of Australia, went to the Great Barrier Reef, and got to see some really cool stuff. It was a awesome. Really
Sounds
cool
like
trip. Yeah, great experience.
Yeah.
Nice.
We've got a lot of family in Australia, actually.
Really?
In Melbourne, yeah.
Okay.
Victoria, and some of them were actually visiting us. They just left a couple months ago.
Nice.
Yeah. So we love Australia. I've been there only once. I was 2 years old.
Okay.
I don't remember anything. Yeah, I gotta go back. We're planning next in 2024 December because we have family members getting married.
Yeah.
We think that's a good time because
it's great.
Wedding,
summer
fun.
there.
Yeah.
It was
Summer.
like summer wedding in December. You know?
Celebrate
And
Christmas.
Melbourne's great. Melbourne's a beautiful city. I fought there as well, and cutting weight. The food there is so clean. The food there is so good. I eat a tremendous amount, and I was like, how am I still so light? How am I able to eat so much? Wow. It was just the food is so clean.
That's
and
amazing.
Poisoning us here. I keep saying
we were just talking about that literally before.
Sure.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Your relationships in your gym, have they translated directly into business, or have you, whether it's a fighter or whether it's someone who you just train with, or?
For sure.
Yeah.
The first couple deals that I did, the first couple deals were, I was with a broker that, had had done a lot of business, so I kind of used him as my selling point, and then it was my work ethic in the gym. People saw me. I always tell agents that the gym is like the best place to network and to find clients. You're meeting people that are motivated. They got themselves to the gym.
Right.
They're improving. They want to improve themselves no matter where they're at now. And you can get to know somebody in a gym without even saying a word. Like I could tell a lot about a person just by the way if we're hitting pads, does this person go crazy in the first 30 seconds and then just stop and say I'm done? Or, will they pace themselves? Sparring, everything, any kind of workout. You can tell a lot about a person by just watching them work out. And if you can tell a lot about a person, they can tell a lot about you. If you go in there and you work hard and you finish the workouts, even no matter how hard you struggle, you get it done. People respect that. And if they respect your work ethic in the gym, why wouldn't they respect your work ethic outside to get a deal done with their house, buying, selling, recommending you to a friend or a family member? I think that's a great way for a person that's starting out to get their first couple clients.
Andy Elliott, you ever tune into Andy Elliott stuff? He's popping right now. He's a coach.
Okay.
So I'm going to speak for myself. I don't want to insult him, but he's my brother. Like we gained some weight. Okay. We used to be a little skinnier. We were exercising and all that. I'm down 11 pounds. I'm working on it.
There we go.
So I'm working on it,
Yeah.
but I definitely moved better, thought better, more clear. When I was less weight, I had less weight on me because it's not normal. But Andy Elliott said, you guys get yourselves a 6-pack. He's talking to sales guys. You guys just get yourself a 6-pack. You're just going to be 100 times more successful because that's the first thing people see.
Yeah.
If you have the discipline to look good physically, chances are you have discipline in other areas of your life, right?
He doesn't let anybody work for him if they don't have a 6-pack.
Yeah. He won't hire them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, if you don't have a 6-pack, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I'm on that. My office, we work out in the mornings together. I have them at my house. My garage is a full matted gym. We do kickboxing this morning, 7:30 in the morning. We had the team there. And the ones that aren't there, I look at it a little differently. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. No, I'm with that 100%. You want to look good. You want to feel good. If you have, somebody that, if you're, you just want to look good. You want to be in shape mentally. You want to be eating the right stuff. It all translates into life. You want to be the best person you can be.
Yeah.
And like we were talking before this, I think kickboxing, boxing, jiu-jitsu, it's like the best. Your mind is constantly being worked and learning moves, being able to see something and then do it yourself and recreate that over and over again. Like learning how to learn is huge, and that's what martial arts is all about.
And on that point, we obviously know how important, like you just mentioned, it is for your team to kind of be on the same page and synergize in that way, because the people that don't, they kind of stand out in a way. How important was that when you were training for a fight at your camp? Did you ever have any experiences where you just weren't really seeing eye to eye with a coach or anything like that? And did that have an effect on your performance? Like, how important is that when it comes to fight night? How much does it impact you?
It's so important. I'm so thankful. Like I could have been born anywhere. I was born in New York, and I could have been born anywhere. I could have been in upstate New York. I was born on Long Island, where Ray Longo and Matt Serra are. They just the two best coaches. Matt, former champion. Ray coached him to get there. I made my pro debut the same day as Chris Weidman. So like I had every opportunity. I was like, this is, I realized how good I had it, but I really didn't realize until after the fact.
Man.
So seeing what Ray's done, what Matt's done, when they told me I was ready, I knew I was ready. When they had me do this workout, if I thought it was crazy, I didn't care. I'm doing it. He pushed me super hard. Ray did. And then pulled back when I needed to be pulled back. And I always felt super confident just because I know their history. And then the guys that I was coming up with, Aljamain Sterling, Chris Weidman. There's a bunch of guys. Eddie Truck Gordon was in the UFC at the time, so we had a good stable of fighters. Pete Sell was a title contender that was, ahead. He was in the UFC when I was just starting to come up, so I had so many good people to look up to.
And a lot of champions, man.
Yeah,
a lot of champions. I watched Chris Weidman knock out Silva at a Boston Pizza. You guys have Boston Pizza down here?
I don't think we do.
No?
I've been up to.
Yeah.
I've been up there. I've had the Boston Pizza.
Boston Pizza. That's where we used to go to watch all the fights.
Yep.
Yeah, because you used to split the tab, and then there was a minimum you'd have to order. We were kids, right? So we used to watch it there. Aljo, watched him and his recent fight as well. But like that guy, like it's a championship mindset at the gym.
Yeah.
You guys were like-minded. You were in sync. So, no, I love that. Matt Serra, man. GSP.
Yeah.
That goes down in history.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had some big upsets, Yeah. And Ray Longo has had a champion, I think, every decade. He had Matt Serra, Chris Weidman, Aljamain Sterling. It's incredible what the gym's done.
You being in their corner and supporting them as well, like, is that important for you to be there for the next generation?
For sure. Those guys, and the guys that are now, Aljo, Marab, those guys, we kind of came up together. I was maybe a little like before them and exited a little before them as well. So that, of course, I'm there with those guys, but a lot of the guys that are coming up now that are just getting into the UFC, guys that are starting to make waves in the UFC, they helped me a lot when they were on the regional amateur circuit. So now it's kind of my time to pay them back and go to the fights, show them the way, be there for them. I think it's good for me too. I got to keep, if I just, leave the fight game and just, it's part of my being. So being around it keeps me alive and motivates me to do what I'm doing here in the real estate office, building a team. I see the team that they have there, and I want to build that here because I know that in real estate, there's never been something quite as tight knit as the Serra Longo fight team. And if I can create a team that's even half of that, I know that it'll blow every brokerage around here out of the water. So that's what I'm really trying to do. There's different problems that it poses. You try to get, a guy that's been in business his whole life to throw some boxing gloves on and train. It's a little difficult, but figure out ways to get everybody on the same page, working out together, coming in the office, calling, door knocking, doing all these things that it takes to be successful. It's a lot, but I try to lead by example.
And that's we walked in here, for our audience, we walked in, Hal was training with Andrea. Shout out to Andrea.
The best.
But you were training, you were doing what you, you're not in here, feet on the table and thinking you're better than everyone. You're learning. It's Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's Tuesday in New York, baby.
That's it.
Training.
Man.
Daddy and I were waiting over there. We're taking notes too. I'm like, oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like
That was really good. I like the way that guy said that. Yeah.
We do lots of training, and it's important.
Yeah.
It's important because you don't know what you don't know, and you have to learn from people that have done it, that are better than you, and you learn from their experience. Why not? I was gonna ask you, how many people are part of your team now?
We've got 11 agents, including myself.
Nice.
So 10 other agents, and then Andrea, who's the glue that keeps it all together. She gives all these agents every opportunity and everything they need to succeed. She's on top of the paperwork. There's a lot of the agents that come to my office. I don't think they know how good they have it. They're getting pushed. They're marketing. Andrew's going, do you need this? Do you need that? Do you need door hangers? Do you need this? Do you that? We're sending out film crews to film them. I'm setting up, Andrea and I are setting up days for them to film. You're going here, you're filming this. Yeah. You're going here, you're filming. It's not an option. It's like you're doing it, and that's it, because that's what it takes. Whereas in other brokerages, I think it'd be up to them to get these things set up themselves, and most agents are not going to step outside of their comfort zone. They don't want to be on camera. Yeah. They don't want to go to someone's door and knock on it. They don't want to pick up the phone and call. They just wait for business to come to them, and that's not going to happen. It never happens that way.
Yeah.
So I think once you do these things, then the business starts to come. But you got to struggle through those first couple of deals. You got to get a couple. You got to grind through, get to the,
for sure.
and then the ball starts rolling.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how we're running it. We're running a tight ship, and we're figuring it out as we go. And we're just trying to build it as big of a brokerage as possible, with all the agents doing what needs to be done. There's not going to be any fluff. Nobody's going to be just saying they're with this office. They're going to be working. So
They gotta work.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no bodies.
yeah,
No, you gotta be putting in the work for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
I always wanted to ask Al. So I always wondered, like, after a UFC fight, can you like talk to us about like what happens in the back end of things, like when you're hurt, right, from the fight?
yeah.
Do you physically feel hurt like that night, like, or is the adrenaline still pumping through you? Like, do you feel it the next day? Like, how does that work with the recovery and everything like that?
It slowly wears off. The adrenaline slowly wears off. You feel great in the back. If you have any serious injuries, you're probably feeling it then. But then things start to pop up. Oh, my thumb hurts. Oh, my shoulder's a little banged up. And then the next day, well, it depends. Sometimes it's a quick, easy fight.
Yeah.
Everything goes as planned. You win quick, smooth, no injuries.
Yeah.
Or you lose quick, one punch, and you're really fine. You have a little sword
Yeah.
face, but no. But then it's those wars.
Yeah.
Those wars that where your whole body, you just like, you wake up the next day and it hurts just to get out of bed. But if you won, it's the best pain. It's the best. You're
So
like,
it reminds you won, right? It reminds you.
It doesn't matter. There's nothing more relieving than the day after a win. If you win, like, nothing matters. Your arm could be shattered in half, and as long as they fix it up, you're just like, I don't care. It's fine. Nazim Sadikov, he fought this past weekend. He had an incredible fight. It was a draw. With the fight, one fight of the night, and it's $50,000 extra in your pocket, for a guy starting out in the UFC. I think it's his third fight. He's $50,000, and he made this is his second bonus, so he's making some money now, and it was an absolute war. 3 rounds. He was getting shin kicked. He had a big knot on his shin. He kicked the guy. His tooth went in his foot or something, and he couldn't even walk. He needed a wheelchair, but he was sitting there just eating his cookie, or he had a cookie or whatever, and he was just sitting there, just like, you could just see he was just happy, just sitting there. He couldn't even get up, but to put that amount of work in, years and years of hard work, and then to perform the way that he did, it was like, he probably could have made that fight easier, but his goal was to entertain and show off his skills. And he's got an incredible kickboxing style. His technique is just so good. And it was a draw, but everyone knew it was he won that fight. You know what I mean? And he knew he won, and he could tell just everybody around him was like so impressed. The fans were going crazy. That energy just like stayed, and he was beat up, and he just didn't even care. He was just smiling from ear to ear, eating his cookie, just like, this is the best thing ever,
Well, Dana hates draws usually. So, I mean, if he gave a bonus, he knew that was it. Yeah.
It was Slava Claus, they call him. He's a Russian guy, and Naz is from Azerbaijan, and it was just Slava was a world champion kickboxer.
Wow.
So Naz is a great wrestler. Yeah. Also, like, world champion caliber kickboxing. Yeah, probably could have taken him down, made it a little bit easier of a fight, but he wanted to test himself against a world champion kickboxer.
I respect that.
Almost knocked him out in the second round. They hit him with some hard shots. A head kick dropped him, and the Russian was tough. He was tough. He wasn't going away. Anybody else would probably have been out of there, but Naz stayed on him the whole time, and it was fight of the night, maybe fight of the year. Who knows? That was a crazy fight.
They say it's the highest of highs or the lowest of lows if you win or lose.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no, there's no like,
In between.
yeah.
Like if you lose, you're not like,
I'm not that low. Yeah. It's
no.
like the worst thing ever.
How do you bounce back
Yeah, how
from
do you
that when you give it your all and then you don't win, right? And you're also hurt at the same time. Like what goes on like in your head where it's like you have to obviously bounce back eventually, right?
Yeah.
But I can't even imagine like the mental and also the physical strain that you have to go through, right, to pick yourself back up and and just move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what, that's what separates everybody. If you could do that, you could do anything. If you can go and give everything you have in a fight and then it not go your way, it could be, it could be the life changing. You're like, damn, like the worst is when somebody, like, if they catch you, you can kind of say, I got caught. The fight would have played out longer.
Yeah.
But if you get like manhandled, it's like, it's tough. It's tough to bounce back from. But styles do make fights. You got to tell yourself that. Styles makes fights. This guy could manhandle you, and somebody that beats him, you could beat. So it's all. Styles make the matchups, make the fights, and you just get back to the drawing board, get back to work. You got no other. You got no other choice. It's that or move on. So it's definitely tough, and the momentum is huge. Momentum in fighting, really momentum in our business and in fighting is the same. You get some momentum going.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like the deals just start coming to you. You got that energy.
It's so real.
You're like, this is the greatest thing ever. And then if you go on a drought for a week, you're like, what the heck am I doing with my life? What am I doing wrong? Did I do the right thing? You're like years later, you're into it, right?
Yeah.
It's a roller coaster.
It's a roller coaster.
And that's the time you really got to get back to the basics, get back to what got you there. It's the same thing with fighting. Get back to the basics, get back in the gym, back to work, and that's it. Those times they don't last. You just get through them.
Yeah.
Momentum starts going again. You guys have been on. Merab lost 2 fights in a row. Now he's on a 9-fight win streak. Aljo got knocked out brutally and then came back and won 9 fights in a row. So it's a metaphor for life. If you can see these guys, these champions, doing that in real time right in front of our faces, in real estate, it's the same thing. It's like, let's go. Let's go.
May not be necessarily, it does involve some physical, but it's a lot of mental. And even in fighting, to get yourself to the gym, to get yourself to bounce back, to get yourself to make that walk, get out there. You're locked in. Nothing else matters. Like, do you even hear the crowd?
Yeah.
Like, it's all mental, right? For you.
Yeah.
They're closing that door. It's like, man, it's Nate Diaz. I understand what he's saying. It's like, kill or be killed.
Yeah.
Like, it's modern day gladiators. Yeah. Right. Like, it's you guys get respect on a whole nother level. Like, it's not a lot of people could do that.
Yeah.
In the world.
When you're in the octagon and like there's like millions of people watching, obviously, right? Like, what goes on in your head? Are you just like ignoring all that and you're kind of focused, lasered in on like the opponent? Is that kind of what goes on, like went on in your head when you're?
Yeah.
Like, those movies where it's like a fighting movie and they kind of blur out the audience.
Yeah.
And it's just the boxers. Yep. Like, I think the last Creed movie had that. Yeah. Jonathan Majors and Michael B. Jordan in the final fight. It's in LA and it's all like just black and they're just fighting each other. Does that kind of happen when the adrenaline kicks in, or no? You there's people around you, like
it's like that. It's kind of like fuzzy around. You might you hear the roar when if he lands a combo on you, you're like, oh, and then but then when you're landing a combo and the crowd starts going crazy, like it's no matter how loud the arena is, I can always hear my coaches. It's kind of crazy, you can always hear Ray. And Matt Serra for sure. But you revert back to your training, you revert back to whoever you were in the gym, that's when stuff gets tough in the gym. If you figure out a way to say, let me get a second, or that's where people usually find their way out in a fight. But if you just push through everything in the gym, like it's a fight, and, you're training extra rounds, you're doing more rounds than everybody else, that all translates into the fight. If you hold your hands here, during the fight, you hold them here. You know, if you hold your hands here during the fight, you hold them here. You got to be perfect in training, and then you can hope to be just almost perfect in the fight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kind of like reminds me of like what the ancient Spartans used to say, something along the lines of like sweat more in training so you bleed less during the war, like during the battle.
100%.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. It's the truest thing.
I wanted to ask you something completely different. I thought about it on the way here. We watch it back home. We haven't watched it more recently, but like there's shows out there like Selling Sunset, $1 Million Listing. I think they're all bullshit for the most part. Like, to be honest, I'm sorry, Ryan Serhant or whatever. Like, there's legit guys, you know, like those guys, they do put in work.
Yeah.
But a lot of them pay to be there. Selling Sunset, like when my wife has, I might turn that off.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not real estate.
Yeah.
Like, you know, no one actually in Toronto now, though, a lot of people trying to get clout. They go to these events, bro. They're dressed the nicest, but I know they don't sell anything.
Yeah.
I know they don't sell anything.
Yeah.
What's your take on that? Like, I mean, is it for people watching here? Maybe they want to get into real estate. Maybe they want to invest. Like, is that reality or still just television?
Yeah, it looks great on TV. You show them 3 houses and they pick one, and that's it. You
40
know?
million and the commission 600,000.
There's never any hiccups along the way at the 1 yard line. The funding's falling through or something. You know what I mean? It all looks great, and the people on the show got them there. They got themselves there one way or the other. You know, Ryan Serhant's doing incredible business now here. I mean, across the country and especially New York.
Yeah.
So definitely something to motivate.
Yeah.
That motivates me. You know, it's all out there.
Yeah.
He seems like a guy that didn't really have a sales background, moves to New York and just starts crushing it. So if he can do it, why can't anybody do it? Why,
true.
you know, so it's he's got attributes that definitely have helped him, but everybody needs to find what works for them and let it work itself. Just the guy's worked his ass off. All these people, I don't know. I mean, he's probably like the one that I have seen the most because he's in this area, you know, and he's opening offices in this area and stuff. The others are more LA, you know.
The Overton brothers,
yeah. I'm sure they worked their ass off to get
sure,
there.
definitely.
You know?
I think the TV part, like the drama that comes with it, is I think made up. But I definitely think like those guys are like they're doing big stuff for sure.
They're legit.
Oh,
They have
shout out to all those guys. Like Ryan, like, you know, I got their books. Like, you learn from them. They're guys that are doing maybe what you want to do, what we want to do.
Yep.
You want to learn from them.
Yeah.
I'm talking the TV part
TV
of it.
stuff is,
like
I
the
think,
TV
big,
part, like
I
the
think
show.
so.
Like in Toronto, there's $1 million. Did you know there's $1 million listing Toronto?
No, I didn't know that.
Bro, it's so low budget that the guy called me, right? I'm like, I want to know what this is all about, because like, how come you don't have me on there? Like, what are you doing here? He's like, you got to pay 30 to 40 G's per episode. I'm like, bro, I've never even heard of your show. I just found out 11 years in the business. And he's like, well, this is how we put it out there, and it's on satellite and whatever. I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, you don't get the numbers. There's no way you get the numbers.
Yeah.
And for 30, 40 grand with what we do here, and what, like, we could do a lot.
Yeah.
We could do a lot. Podcasting, you create our own content.
Start your own show.
Yeah. Now, if you have the numbers, it's different.
Yeah.
Maybe it makes financial sense.
Yeah.
But I didn't see that. So like Selling Sunset, bro, they just get better at what they're wearing and the way they look. Every season you see this person got Botox, this person got a nose job. I'm like, guys, that ain't real estate.
Yeah.
It's a tough business.
Yeah. That's a very small niche business. You know, it looks very glamorous. You know, it's out there, but for the most part, like, you know, most agents, they're working where they came from. They're working with their type of people. That's how I am. I'm definitely not like, you know, in LA in that scene, you know, so I'm probably not going to be selling those people houses. Not that I wouldn't, but, you really, it's where you come from. You know, you could always, you know, like improve, but you can't really change. I don't think that's a scene that I would thrive in. So I like where I'm at. I like the South Shore of Long Island, my kind of people, my kind of place. You're 20 minutes from the beach. In the summer, we have the most beautiful beaches, and you're 45 minutes from Manhattan. Montauk is a couple hours out east. And then you got the North Shore. It's like you got 4 different worlds right here. This is like the coolest place to live. So this is my kind of people, and there's nothing more that I like to do. It's like I'm hanging out with Long Island people. We're selling out. You're
having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We explore a new restaurant. I go to a place. This person's looking in a place I might not be all the time. It's like the best. We go explore a new restaurant. Talk to the bartender. What's the town like? What's the good? What's the deal with this place?
Yeah.
It's like I love it. Love it.
That's the fun part about it.
Yeah.
So every experience is different.
Yeah.
That's how I recruited my wife to come join us.
Really?
I swear.
I thought you were gonna say that's how I recruited her to be my wife.
Oh, no, that was
Like, what the heck?
That was different. That was another story. But you ever heard of Johnny Rockets? Do you guys have those here? Johnny Rockets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got Johnny Rockets, right? Yeah.
You have a lot of them in the West Coast. So we used to have some in Canada. I used to work there. I was making her a milkshake once, and then she liked the way I was stirring that milkshake. And so we always say my milkshake brought her to the yard.
Incredible.
But she used to be a social worker, and then they just worked her a government job that there should have been 3 people doing. And she used to help me with our events. We do stuff for our clients, Christmas parties and stuff. And she just one day said, "You know what? I've had enough. Like, can you hire me? Can you afford me?"
Yeah.
She was my girlfriend at the time. I said, "Yeah, obviously I'd want you to work with me because I could trust you."
Yeah.
And I just didn't ever want to take you from your career.
Yeah.
We watch too many movies. You're 40, they become bitter, and you took them away from their career. But the experience, the new experiences, is what made her want to join.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that. I think a lot of agents, they get into the business. It's easy money. It's quick money. Far from it, man.
Yeah.
How many times do you work and you don't get a paycheck for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks? Longest I've done was 6 months.
Past couple of weeks. Where
6 months. Longest time I never went without a paycheck. How many people could go without a paycheck for 6 months?
Yeah. It's crazy.
You need a strong will for that. Yeah.
Definitely.
Really strong will, and you gotta know what to do with that money. You gotta do the right things with the money, because you get a big fat check. It's very easy to go out and go on a shopping spree.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yeah, but then it could be another 6 months. It could be a little while before the next one. So you definitely got to be. It's a different type of different type of lifestyle.
Yeah,
for sure. And some people thrive in it, and some people, they get themselves in trouble.
And dude, I just don't understand. Like, there's a lot of people that I think for us it's very easy to get your license where we're from, like in Ontario. Yeah. So there's a very low barrier to entry. I think we have the biggest
96,000
realtors. So we have one of the biggest, if not the biggest, real estate board in, I think, the world.
I think it is.
I think it's in the world, or it's up there. And man, the conversations I have with some of these agents, whether they're the listing agent or the buyer agents, and I just ask myself, I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, you really don't seem to like what you do, or you know what, they could be having a bad day.
Yeah.
But it happens so often, I'm very convinced that, they're just doing it as a side hustle. And a lot of people don't belong in our industry because they're just not cut out for it.
Yeah.
They're really not. And it really ruins a lot of, what we're doing. Guys that are full-time, we love it. It's our passion. We're in it every single day. And those people just they kind of ruin it, right? For us.
They ruin it. And that's, I mean, I do events here at the office, and I try to invite, agents think that I'm trying to recruit them. Is quite the opposite. I wouldn't want you working here ever, but if I'm gonna have to see you out there in the field, I want you to be. Hopefully, you could be somewhat competent.
Yeah.
I really would love to change this whole industry and educate. Education's huge. It's a tall order, but like you said, there's some people in this business that just don't belong in it, and there's no one that's gonna tell them that. It's interesting. Like you were saying, there's always new experiences, and the people are the experience. A lot of them, an experience that you could have done without.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
We just did a deal yesterday night. I was packing my bags, getting ready to show up, and we did a deal very, very last minute. And the guy, so in the morning, he submits me the deal. Half an hour later, my client goes, "I'm not interested in selling anymore." I'm like, "Bro, we've been on the market for 6 months. What do you mean? Why now? Now you got an offer."
Yeah.
And long story short, I tell the agent, because I'm very transparent, "Hey, deal's not going to go through. My apologies. I know we've never done a deal before, but I know you know who I am, and vice versa, on social media. And I'd love to do a deal with you. check this out. I've got other units in the building. They're not listed, but I have clients. If you're interested, here are the photos. Show them to your clients. It's off market.
Yeah.
I'll open that up to you because I feel bad for you, your client, and I have a reputation.
Yep.
But in the afternoon, I speak with my sellers, and then they change their mind now again. So we go back, and I'm like, so I call the guy. He's a young guy like us. I'm like, look, this isn't how I do business. And he was very, because your reputation precedes you. So like, very understanding. We did the deal, but it could have went the other way. It could have totally went the other way. So in our industry, we try to like be cordial, try not to be, don't be tire kickers, don't waste time.
Yeah.
But like you said, sometimes you're just inviting them to soften them up. They know about you. Your name comes across their desk on a listing. They might be more inclined to do a deal with you because they know of you or know who you are.
For sure. Real estate, I believe in real estate karma.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like
Definitely.
you get through a nightmare deal, a layup is coming down the pipeline. You bring a buyer to a listing, they love the house. This listing agent's just a knucklehead.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you just got to deal with this, and then the next deal is like
so easy.
The clouds disappear and the sun comes out and you just have like the nicest agent to work, and
Those
you
are the
like
best.
You're playing Joe Esposito in the car. I'm the best.
Exactly.
Nothing's ever gonna keep me down.
That's too funny.
Bro, I love it. But I want to ask. Sorry, can I? You have a question?
I have one, but
Yeah,
go.
No, go.
I have a question. Just curious, like for like the area you're in right now where you practice, like what does like a detached house sell for? Like that's like 3 bedrooms, doesn't really need too much renovations, kind of turnkey, like roughly 2,000 square feet. Like what do you guys sell them here for?
Yeah,
Just curious.
right now you're looking at anywhere between $500,000 to $1 million. It's probably that's where you're at. It's
not too bad
yeah,
though. I
yeah.
feel like it's pretty affordable.
Is that is that
you know what it is? The taxes here are pretty crazy.
What kind of taxes? Like if
taxes like really good right now, like $12,000 a year is really good. Then you get an around pool, you get on the water, you're looking at like 25,000, 25,000.
Is that something people pay like on closing, or is that just like a consistent thing? Like property taxes, you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, got it. So you guys have really high property taxes here, right?
Yeah, the taxes
Yeah.
in New York are, Las Vegas, and then even like the Carolinas, people are paying like $3,000, $2,000 a year in property taxes.
Yeah.
Where here, it's like making 10 times that sometimes.
That's
it's like
crazy.
crazy.
So we have a weird way they calculate it. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. Upon sale, they get reassessed, right? The taxes.
Do they get reassessed upon the sale?
Like how do you do your assessment?
But it's by assessment. They get assessed by the town. Yeah, but it's not necessarily on the sale.
Got you. So for us,
I think at least.
For us, they do something where it's like they phase it out. So they'll assess it and then they'll phase it out every 4 years so that the payment's not a shock to you so much in year one.
Yeah.
But they reassess every 4 years automatically.
Yeah, that's similar.
But like, for example, my parents live 5 minutes away from us. We have similar homes, similar size homes, single family, 2-car garage, basic, 40-foot lot by 105, 115, something like that. Theirs is 105. I think ours is 115. They pay about $6,000 in property taxes. We pay $12,000 only because it's a new house.
Yeah.
Compared to an old house. I'm like, but what are you basing it off of? Like it's property tax.
Yeah.
Like it's based on the property, if it's the same, it should be the same.
I'm with you, man.
Just the money grab.
So my dad goes, shut up, don't say nothing because they're going to raise my taxes. That's what he said.
That's hilarious.
But here you can grieve the taxes. So, two identical houses could be right next to each other. This person grieves their taxes every single year. This person doesn't. This person's going to be paying $10,000 a year in taxes. And the person that didn't grieve their taxes is going to pay $20,000.
Sheesh.
It's like,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
this grieving means like you're complaining about it. You file like for a reassessment sort of thing.
Yeah. So there are companies that do it. Like law offices.
Okay.
They specialize in tax grievance.
Okay.
And those. I don't know. I should learn exactly how it's done because I could do it myself. Usually, the company will grieve your taxes for you, where they send comparables in as far as taxes and whatever they do. Then if they get you $2,000 off a year, that company will take $1,000. You keep, then you pay the other thousands. They kind of do it that way.
That's interesting.
So yeah, there's
Wow.
companies that specialize in
We don't have that,
engraving
right?
taxes.
You do have property tax assessment with MPAC, but
But the grieving part, like
no, you could do that. You file, you file, and but it's a long process because it's government. It's a long process. So I guess somebody would want to hire these guys. They only pay for them until probably if they win.
Yeah, you only get they only get paid if they get.
This
your
is a
taxes
service
down.
we could.
that
we
makes
could look
sense.
into.
Though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
They have it down, so it's probably like nothing to them.
Yeah, for sure.
System.
They probably have connections too at the same time, right? Over the years, probably build those relationships.
Yeah, I'm sure they know who they're sending everything to, and they know how to get it done.
Cool. Yeah, Matthew's telling me you guys have like tax on like whenever it's busy, like during rush hour, like busy times, like in the city.
They just instituted that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy shit, man. I never knew that was a thing.
Yeah, what is that for? Like climate change?
Like,
Is that why they did that? Because we have something called the carbon tax. It's the biggest scam that's ever been invented. Shout out to Trudeau. He thought of something great.
Yeah.
He taxed the carbon. He taxed like oil, things like that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: you got farmers now; they got to pay more for oil, so the food cost goes up.
Yeah.
But now the truckers that ship the food have to pay more for oil and gas.
Yeah.
So the shipping cost goes up.
Yeah.
So you got this massive inflation.
Yeah.
They're telling us it's 2%, 3, 4, 5. It's more like 75%, like on certain items.
for sure.
So yeah, how do you guys like? What is that tax that he's talking about? The congestion tax or something for driving? Is it like a climate initiative or?
I think it's just to give me some more money initiative.
Fuzz.
They raise the tolls going over the bridges. They raise, that now they have this tax. I mean, it does probably keep some people out. It's congested in the city. You go to try to get somewhere rush hour, you're sitting there forever. So maybe that'll limit the traffic, and that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't really drive to the city. It's kind of like I'm kind of a tourist in the city.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So we mapped JFK to your place here when we first were planning the routes. And I think I caught it at a certain time where it's like 30 minutes. Is that true, guys? Like 30 minutes would make sense?
Yeah.
But then one time I mapped it.
During rush hour.
Yeah, and it was like an hour and 31 minutes. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You hit it the wrong time.
It's totally different.
You're gonna be backed up for a while. Yeah, it can be brutal. But yeah, if you go at the right time, you're flying to JFK, fly there, fly back, no problem.
Yeah. What's your family life like? You got you don't have a girlfriend, wife?
Single guy.
Yeah.
Just trying to take over the world.
Nice.
Maybe find the right one along the way.
Where's the queen? All the queens out there.
I picked a couple of the wrong ones along the way, but I got my parents live close by. Nice. I live maybe 15 minutes away from where I grew up. My parents still live there. My sister, she lives in Long Beach, down by the beach in Long Beach, 15 minutes away from me. So I got my whole family. I got a very large extended family. My cousins, my aunts, my uncles, they all live on Long Island. Just recently, my Uncle Joe moved to the Carolinas. So he's like the first one out of all. My mom's brother lives in California. So those are the two outliers. But other than that, a bunch of aunts and uncles all on Long Island. That's it, man. Just the Long Island people, New Yorkers through and through. My dad, their family, they grew up in a small apartment. He had 5 brothers and sisters, all in one little, I think it was a 1-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn.
Oh, wow.
And they moved out to Long Island. Didn't even, I forget what the reason was. I think everyone ended up in Valley Stream. I think it's like the first exit, on Long Island. So it's like you're the first exit. They just got off the first exit and bought a house. It's like you were in Long Island, and yeah, that was it. It was just felt. My dad's he loves Long Island. You can't get the guy off the island no matter what. He's a high school football coach.
Oh, nice.
So he's been coaching football for as long as I can remember. Since I was born, he was coaching, and it definitely got my athletic prowess from him. My mom's retired math teacher. My sister got her academic prowess from my mother. We kind of battled on that front for a while. My mom was trying to get me to excel in school, and I was more inclined to go to the gym and work out. Yeah. But that's it, man. Long Island people love it here, and get away in the winter, but can never be away for too long. Billy Joel said it the best. Billy Joel, now he's moving, right? I think he just bought a place in Florida. For many years, he said, I got all the money in the world. I can live anywhere I want, and I live on Long Island. So that's like that's a saying that hits home to me. It's like, no matter how much money you got, it's the people here, it's the culture,
energy,
the energy. Yeah. You're right by the city, you're right by the beach, you're right by all the beaches. It's a great place to live.
What's the saying you guys have about something in a New York minute? How does that go? Something New York minute.
Yeah, no, you know what? I don't know what that is. That New York minute thing.
Yeah, because we were marching from like the hotel to the train station.
Yeah.
And it was just no one was looking at us funny. Like, it was normal.
Yeah.
We're like
this is
power
normal.
walking it out.
Yeah, we're power walking, bro. I get to the train, I'm like sweating. I'm like, but normal. You have to get to where you want to go, and there's a hustle and bustle of the city.
Yeah.
And we live more of like a suburban area, kind of reminds me of here.
Yeah.
But when you go to this, it's a different energy, and even New York is such a different energy compared to Toronto. It's something in the States. You guys are very like patriotic. You love where you come from.
Yeah.
Things have been changing, but everywhere.
Yeah.
But going back to the family thing, so I was asking you off air, so I want to ask you on air because it's interesting. Any UFC, fighter relationships, like the female fighters and Iacquinta, or?
Oh no! You that's not what you asked me off the. That's not what you asked me off the air.
I'll ask you a little more.
There's plenty of beautiful fighters out there. Female fighters. Yeah.
If you and Shevchenko went at it, how do you think that one plays
Oh,
out?
I don't want to mess with her. She put it on me. That girl's dangerous.
Yeah,
for sure.
You said something else about the.
I said I'm more of a ring card girl kind of guy.
So every time the fight's on, they'll put the round one and whatever.
Yeah.
My wife goes, "Why do you even need those? Why do you need them?" What do they think? I'm like, babe, you know how many times we're confused? We don't know the round.
Yeah, you got to know the round.
And they're walking with
They're
that
very
thing,
important.
and they're not looking down. They could fall.
Yeah.
They got an important job.
Yeah.
And then she'll see them, and she'll be like, "Oh, it's not your favorite." I'm like, "Oh, Brittany." I'm like, "Yeah," just to chirp them. But it's like, does that stuff actually happen, or like, are they more? It's just business. Fighters don't really get involved.
I'm sure. Yeah.
You're sure?
I'm sure.
I'm sure.
I'm not that sure. I'm not that sure, but I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're always around the fights. I'm sure it's bound to happen at some point.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
What about?
But they're very, very integral part. Integral.
Yeah.
They're very integral part of fighting.
Yeah.
You think about it. It goes way back. It's one of the the last. There's something about that's just freaking awesome. You know what I mean?
Part of it.
Like a girl in a bikini's walking around with the ring card. Like, if someone ever complains about that, just slap.
Kick him in the ass.
It's amazing that somebody hasn't.
They have. Who was it? Khabib recently.
Yeah.
But that's more of a cultural thing where they're from.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I get.
Yeah.
But like,
you need that. You need stuff like that. People, the young men of this generation need that.
Women
They need that exactly.
That's it.
They
Round
need to
one.
grow up,
Simple.
Yeah.
That'll solve the problem.
That'll solve a lot of problems.
Keep their heads straight.
Every time the fight starts, I do it. This guy, he knows. What do I say? I'm like, oh, round one. Look at my wife, round
He
one.
announces it, man.
I announce it just to bother her a little bit.
That's
I'm like,
awesome.
it's part of it, man.
Yeah.
It's all fun. Who's we're gonna wrap up. We've taken a lot of your time. Thank you.
It's been
for that.
awesome, guys.
Yeah, but I wanted to, before I let you go, I think I'd be remiss if I don't ask you this. Has there have you ever fought someone, like, I would think Khabib, but like, have you ever fought someone where you've been like, I am shitting my pants to fight this person, I'm scared, Or have there been fighters in the UFC that you've came across or just said to yourself, like, it's a scary dude?
Definitely Khabib in some ways, but in some ways I was like, I'm taking this fight on 36 hours notice. Like, who cares? So I'm basically like, can't lose.
Yeah.
If I go out there and get smoked in 30 seconds, everyone's going to say that was supposed to happen. So I didn't really have too much pressure in that aspect. No, I don't think, I always felt pretty confident towards the end. I don't think I was training as much or as hard as I would have liked to. Injuries just started building up, and then you're more scared of like not getting, I'm always scared of getting tired. And I think that was probably more of the fear. But for the most part, I always felt pretty confident in my skills. My preparation gave me confidence to go in there. I was never really like too petrified. There was a fight in the Ring of Combat. I fought a guy by the name of Gabriel Miglioli, and I lost the first round. I got knocked down, and then I ended up winning the second and the third round. Won a split decision, and it was like the first war I'd ever had. I was cut. We were both bleeding at the end, and I had given like everything I had in the fight. Got the split decision victory. The next fight, I was freaking scared. I was like, I expected that again, and I was like, I trained so hard, and I was petrified of this guy Miglioli. He was like super tough, and I kind of like felt like I got away with one because he dropped me in the first round, and then I came back and I won the second and the third. And the rematch, I threw one kick. I hit him with a kick, and it like grazed his eye, and I just went right in and finished the fight. It was like 30 seconds, and I had been preparing for like all out war, and it was such a relief. And it kind of taught me a lesson, like not to fear anything, because anything can happen. You always prepare for the worst in your mind, and you go out there, and like it was probably like the best fight I've ever had as far as like being easy, like not taking any damage, not going barely broke a sweat,
Yeah.
So that was a fight that I was scared of, but learned a huge lesson not to really build my opponent up as this monster in my head.
Yeah.
It's awesome. What are your thoughts? Last question on my end I want to ask you. So, like, what are your thoughts on when fighters like talk trash, like, and they just talk shit?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's got to be done right. It's got to be done right. Some guys do it good, and it's either it's authentic and it's real, or it's entertaining. But some people just try too hard. It just doesn't.
And it just doesn't come out
doesn't
right.
work.
It's cringe.
Yeah, you can't. You don't want that. So I mean, there's definitely an art to trash talking. Some guys, they talk trash and then they perform better. Some guys, they talk trash and it's it just doesn't come off right. And yeah.
Do you think it works? Like, do you think it gets in people's heads a lot of times? Like, in terms of fighters, like, do you think it works and gives them an edge, or it just, like you said, depends on the person?
Yeah, I think it depends. It depends on the person you're fighting. It depends on what you say. If you push the right buttons, like a guy like Khabib, you're not gonna kind of try every trick in the book on that guy. You're not breaking through to that guy. Yeah. Guy like Kevin Lee, you could probably torture a little bit.
Easy.
And get in his head. And if somebody's got a little weakness mentally, you attack that, expose that. I think Conor was fishing for anything with Khabib, going after his manager, going after his family. Yeah. That guy's so rock solid. You're not getting to him. To find a chink in the armor of a lot of these guys is tough. Yeah. But there's definitely doable against some guys. Some guys, they're studs in the gym. You can't get to them ever, and then they get into the fight and they're just not there. And so I think against those guys, those trash talk can work out for you.
Makes sense. Awesome.
I want to spit some names at you, and maybe you could give us like the first word that comes to your mind, and then we'll wrap up. Let people know where they can connect with you, your podcast, and all that stuff.
Awesome.
All right. So some you may like, some you may not, but we'll hear it from you. So I got to ask you, let's start with the big head. Dana White.
Dana White, he's the boss. He's the boss, man. Yeah, he made everything. He put it all together. He was in the right place at the right time with the right ideas and the right skill set, and he knew the right people to make it happen. So you got to give it up to the guy.
I agree.
All right.
Conor McGregor, we got to ask you about him.
Showman. That guy's he's a showman, right? And he's got a crazy sense of belief in his work ethic. I think I think he believed who he was, and then he worked, and he got to where he wanted to be.
What about Jake Paul, but specifically like this whole YouTuber promotional boxing? What do you think about all that?
It's interesting. The YouTube boxer. It's kind of like you're doing things backwards a little bit. You know, you're fame. You get the fame first, and then you get into boxing. And in his case, he's got the money to train the right way, do the right things. He's definitely got a good work ethic. So I see him going pretty far. He's got a pretty tough fight. I think he just signed against a guy that's a little lesser known boxer now, who's like 10-1.
Yeah.
So and that's what everybody's wanted to see him. They've wanted to see him fight a guy that's like on the same path as him. That's right there. Look, he fought tough guys, but he fought them at kind of like the twilight of their careers, guys that were huge in the MMA space and then got into the boxing. And, it was kind of very smart how he navigated that. And I think he's probably being pretty smart the way he's navigating this. I think he's definitely done his research, or his people have done their research on who the new guy is that he's fighting. And, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
What about John Jones?
John Jones, man, was that guy just talented? He's a specimen, and he's a talent. He's got an incredible mind for the sport. He's an interesting character.
Yeah.
A guy that can party like that, and then get in the cage the next day. It's almost like he thrives in that, in that hungover state or something.
Yeah,
I don't know, but like I could definitely he's incredible, and it makes it even more incredible that he excelled for so many years doing it the way he did it. Now he's getting a little bit older, he got injured. I think those things kind of add up after a while. The partying will get you, for sure, and you get a little bit older, you can't train as hard as you used to, but I'm looking for. There's still so many good fights for him. He made Cyril Gane look just so human for a guy that's so good, and I would love to see that Ngannou fight happen. That's like, but it's probably not. The big fights that you really want to happen. Fedor versus Brock Lesnar. Like those fights, they're so hard to make, and they don't come together too often. But when they do, like Conor Khabib, like those are freaking.
That was epic.
Epic, epic. So I hope there's some big ones. I hope John Jones versus Stipe happens. I'm a big fan of Stipe, and I think the world of that guy. So I for Stipe, I want that fight to happen for sure.
Who's on your GOAT list? Who's number one?
Oh man. Well, I think this is such a hard question. It's such a subjective question, and then you go back in time and you're like, it was a different sport back then. Fedor was up there, but then he kind of like hung around too long. A guy like Takanori Gomi, even for the lightweights back then, was such a stud. And then, things, as he gets a little older, things change. And there's so many guys. George St. Pierre has got to be, he beat everybody. Matt Serra, he avenged that loss. Matt Hughes too. So he's got to be like one of the top guys. John Jones, Anderson Silva, kind of. He was up there. Now he's having like a resurgence in the boxing world. So
crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome to see. So yeah, I think those are, I hope I'm not really like.
Would you ever put Khabib on there? Would you ever put?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Would you put like someone like Conor on there for in terms of his star power?
Yeah. I mean, Khabib, he's got to be on there. He ended on such a high note. That's like the best. He every finish was quicker, and you know, he finished all those guys, you know, defending his belt, and then he said, "That's it. I've had enough," and it's smart. So he's got to be on there, and then Conor, he did things that, you know, he paved the way for so many guys. He did things that were unthinkable, winning 2 titles, and then going on to box Mayweather and do all these things. He's definitely paved the way and created some new paths for fighters after fighting the business world. Just, you know, you see guys trying to talk like him.
Yeah.
And you know,
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's like,
yeah.
bro, no, you're not Conor.
Like, just stop.
Yeah, yeah, like he was so original, so quick witted, and they're definitely awesome. I think you got to put him up there in some aspect as well.
Yeah. Well, from my end, that's all I have. Like, you want to tell our audience where they could find you and direct them to any website or podcast or anything like that?
The podcast, we got to start that again. The Call Me Al show.
Yeah.
We were doing it. We fell off. I'm building an empire here. You know what I mean? It's hard to
gotta focus.
But the podcast will come back in some way, somehow. But at Iacquinta on Twitter, on Instagram. If you're looking to buy, sell, or rent anywhere in the United States, you can find me there or Iacquintarealestate.com.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you once again for coming on our
appreciate
show.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you guys for coming down and making me a stop on the way. Appreciate you guys.
And your hospitality, just for our audience to know, like, you helped us set it up. You hooked us up with the team. We got other guests we're interviewing, so we appreciate that. You didn't have to, but thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. These are my guys, you know, with the film crew. So they're I'm glad it all worked out. We brought it all together.
Yes, sir. Till next time, guys. We're out.